Hmm. So, anyway, welcome to League of Europe Division 2. This is round 3. It's you're joined for the first time this season by myself, Old School 3000. Yeah, wish I could have made the first couple of races, but just had all sorts of business going on. And I'm joined here by Funky Chicken. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, mate. Thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd say you missed quite a chaotic first two races. I have to say, a lot of crashes, a lot of incidents, and a lot of Ferrari strategies we saw last race with both Ferrari drivers running out of fuel on the last lap.
Yes, no, I've heard there's been all sorts of craziness. I know that this is quite a fuel heavy track as well, from just racing it just now. So yeah, lots of potential issues, lots of potential kind of drama. I suspect, especially at Suzuka with a full grid, which is really good to see. We were a bit short in D3, but yeah, at least we've got some action as we've got offside Nova first to leave on track. So hopefully we can get the action going. It's interesting. I've just seen a little bit about a potential wet race, I think. I'll just have a little look what's going on. If anyone can confirm. Oh yes, it is rain. It is rain. Oh my lord. So we're gonna have a very, very, very compromised setup potentially for a few of these guys. I think they had rain in D1 as well. And I was in a party with a few of the guys who, yeah, it completely changed their setup, and some of them didn't even bother qualifying. So yeah, wet race, which round here is almost certain to cause extra drama with the lack of straights.
Yeah, and it'll make it especially a lot harder to overtake, because we saw that in D1 as well. Obviously, with close grids, it is a lot harder to overtake, but especially in the wet with no DRS. I think we only saw a few moves, and that was like a lot of elbows out as well to get through. But also just wanted to let the audience know as well that the winner last time I ended up being Doom after Lifebout picked up I think it was a 3 second penalty after the race. So even with his fuel issues, he managed to get the win somehow, and I'm very happy that he did, as he's a lovely driver, to be honest.
one thing, I just wanted to ask. I just asked it in the chat, but is the UI too much? It seems extra wide. This is obviously the first time I've actually commentated on this game, and it seems just so much wider. So let me know if it is too much, and I'll happily get rid of it for parts of the race anyway. But yeah, very early going. I was very shocked to see June. I'll be honest, I've been completely out of the loop with a lot of things. And I had a little look at the standings earlier, and I could not believe that June is leading. I mean, a very quick driver, but not necessarily the most consistent. So wonder if he can get it going again today and kind of really mount an actual title challenge rather than just one spawny race, realistically.
But yeah, as you were saying, his consistency's not normally there, but last week out, he was just so consistent in his lap time, just kept pulling the gaps. I think he did a poor strategy, and he still managed to get himself straight back into the lead within like a lap or two. But on board here with Offside Nova, he's going to be the first one to complete a lap, and it's been a solid lap so far. Just not the best, not the fastest, just a quick banker there. He sets a 1:10.6 after the second sector. Then into the Casino Triangle, which is my favourite corners on the track, I have to say. It's very tricky to get right as he hooks the inside nicely and abuses both of the curves and gets a bit of wheel spin but good traction all in all up to the line. It's a 1:27.1.
Yeah, that seems quite quick. I mean, I'm not an expert on pace in this division. I'm not up to speed as of yet, but that seems fairly competitive.
Yeah, I think we're seeing like a lot of the drives in D1 getting 26s, and I think towards the sharp end, low 26s. But obviously, we expect it to be a little bit slower around here. But I think a 26.8 there from Killer puts in P1. I think that is more the lap times we're expecting for pole position tonight.
Yeah, that's a hell of a lap, as we've got Rick who's kind of come over the line as well. We've got Aston Martin looking like they're going to threaten, and that's Adamaco, a name that I remember from a while ago from racing him in TTML. So nice to see him here. Wesker, another one, his teammate, from the same place, and they've landed next to each other on the grid as just getting some formulative times. Obviously, Killer does look very quick. That is a very quick lap from him. And offside Nova. One thing I'd say is I know he's recently come back to the game, back in the last game. I imagine he will just keep improving because I believe he's quite a quick chap as Doom comes over with a 27 flat and inserts himself into second place.
Yeah, going back to Killer's lap there, and I think he didn't show up last week. I think he was busy or whatever, but he won the first race and he's back to try win again to extend, or not even extend his championship lead, retake the championship lead. But as we've seen a bit slipstream there from Killer and J. Cole, and J. Cole I think had a very disappointing round one. And I was just talking to him before the race, and I was saying I expect better from him, and he was laughing a bit, and he's expecting more, but how much was he sets a 111.0 through the second set to split there. Doesn't use as much curve as Nova did there, but up to the line it's going to be a 127.6, which puts in P9, so quite a way off Killen, but we do have quite a large field spread at the moment, it seems.
Yeah, we do. It's such a tough track to nail because there's so many areas where you can lose a tenth or two just by not getting on the traction well. As I'm following around with Raw Fashion, I'm going to call him Fashion Gold because it's probably a hell of a lot easier. And this corner for me is someone that I just can't get right. Can't get the power down efficiently, and then I'm noticing losing 1 or 2 attempts. But equally, there were some people I saw in D3 that were really struggling around Spoon, really struggling about the Casio Triangle, and also obviously through the first sector, because that is probably one of the most technical elements you'll ever see on a track. I can't think of too many more demanding series of corners in any racetrack in the world, really.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's probably one of my favourite tracks. It's just such a difficult track to nail. So when you get the perfect lapper, you feel like you've really achieved something. But yeah, as you were saying there, Spoon is a very difficult corner for me, I have to say, from previous games. Just could never seem to get the power down on the X and just always run a little bit too wide, get a warning. But track limits around this track I think are harder this game because I think you can't use as much curb throughout the Degnas. So hopefully we'll see less time penalties, as I think we saw quite a few at Australia in the first round.
Yeah, we didn't have too many in D3. I will say we managed to keep it low, but like you said, I find though that because the track is pretty much bordered entirely of grass, it's actually one where you can't get too greedy. Except obviously you can in the Casio Triangle, and you can do it exit Spoon and Degna 1, but I would say otherwise you don't really want to be using a lot of inside curves compared to some tracks, but there'll be 1 or 2 that will get penalties for sure.
Yeah, I think we've got our final driver to cross the line for the first runs, and it's Chill Edge through the Casio Triangle. Bit of a wobble on the exit, he got touched the grass on the outside. It's not going to be the fastest route round. He goes P18 with a 128.9, but I think he's got a lot of time that lap, and especially throughout that final chicane.
Yeah, 100%. So run on board with Darry, who is off and he's way down. So we'll pick someone else. Killer's on an out lap. I think pretty much everyone in this group is warming up their tyres to get the lap over with and get on their hot lap. So yeah, I mean it's such an interesting grid. There's a lot of people here that have been promoted from D3. There's a few that have come down from D1 as well. A lot of people that are kind of perennial floaters of D1 and 2. People like Larkin, J. Cole himself as well. Quite a few different kind of. It's really interesting how balanced this division is. I mean, the game, I think anyway, seems to have less of a skill gap than pretty much every game in the last 2-3 years. So I would expect to see this compact a little bit. And also we have to remember it is raining. So the field spread in quali is not necessarily going to be completely representative of pace, but it's going to be a little bit to do with the setups, I suspect.
But yeah, I think we saw as well in D1 quite a few had gone for a lot of wet setups, and we saw them gain a lot. I think like the likes of Rocco, whatever, was down the back of the field, put on a wet setup, and he ended up I think it was P7 or P8 he finished. So The wet setup can be very beneficial to just have so much more grip compared to people with the dry setup, but the only issue with the wet setup is maybe the straight line speed you'll then have, is that you'll have to go very high on the wings just to ensure you can keep the car facing the right way.
Yeah, expect to see some dicey moments through 130R, because if there's big differences in wings, it could mean that pinch point there is about where people could end up catching by 3 or 4 tenths, and you could see some side by side through there. So I'm right on board with our pole sitter so far, provisional pole sitter Killer, looking fairly tidy through sector 1. Be interesting to see what the sector 2 time will say. And sector 3 obviously it's pretty much one corner, isn't it? So sector 2 is pretty much going to dictate where we expect him to land, as it looks fairly tidy. Uses all of the exit curve there and the exit spoon. What's it going to be? It's going to have to be in the 10s, isn't it, I think? And he's just down. But did he have the best final corner in the world? This is what we're going to find out through here. This looks fairly smooth. It looks like he's avoiding using tons of curve. Probably able to get down on the traction a bit quicker. He is hugging the inside line, so he does he lost half a second. Wow. That was really smooth as well. I just think he obviously wasn't aggressive enough. As Doom in second is 2 tenths up, but we'll go over to... Well, I was going to go to Offside Nova, but unfortunately he is not improving. Luke is not improving. The screen is also not. So yeah, let's ride on board with I think Offside Nova, because as he kind of comes through the last, it doesn't completely and utterly binned it into the pits via a bollard there. So Doom coming round, he was really looking good. He was on his fastest man in sector 1. And wow, he's 4 tenths up. This should land him as a 26.6, provided he can get the last corner pretty much nailed. And that looks fine by me. I didn't see any massive issues from the broadcast cam. So this should be pole. Ooh, only just. Lost 2 tenths there going in that last section, as we have people coming over the line pretty much momentarily. You can see a Mercedes out there. And that is the outlap of QVR Chill, and then it's kind of all the way back to going through 130R, one of the Williams guys, I believe. So it's actually no, it's not one of the Williams guys. It's one of the Hassers, isn't it? Still getting used to the still getting used to the UI. I've barely played this game. There's Lifebout, on a slow lap. I feel like we're gonna miss. I'm gonna miss someone doing something very special. I've just got that horrible feeling.
Yeah, I've seen J. Cole's moved up into P6 there, and he was getting a slipstream from Killer, but I think they messed it up a little bit, and J. Cole ran into the back of him, so I think there's even more time in the lap. And earlier on, I was on board with Lucas. I'll cut out there and go up to Chris, who's going P1 with a 26.7. I think he was maybe doing the old TDB strategy there. He was saying he was really hating the track and he was struggling. He's ended up sticking it on pole by a tenth and a bit. But but we've seen Luke nearly be eliminated from this qualifying session. I was on board with him on the exit, a spoon, just a little bit too much curb on the exit. His car went absolutely flying towards the wall, but he managed to keep it out somehow, so I think he's lucky to still be running.
Our D3 runner-up, QVR Chill from last season, he is looking incredibly slow. He's not going to be happy with this. I know he's another one that was moaning about the track. RJ also seems to have a bit of a complex that he's in the wrong div. These guys are quick. I think it's just a case of, I don't know, maybe a bit more practice, understanding the nuances in the game, because I don't mean to brag, I've only played this game 2 hours and my time was quicker than the pair of them in the last. I mean, don't be wrong, I would be only above them two and behind Miami, but really unusual for them.
Yeah, it's very strange then. I think another person who's throwing a bit of sandbags out, but maybe not, was Wesker. I remember he always does this. I know him from previous leagues. He's always saying he's really slow, but he said his personal best was a 28.4, something like that, so unless he's pulled out the lap of his life, I think he might have been lying about that. But just looking at the championship standings here, we've seen Joom in P1 at the moment on 31 points, and he's in P2 currently on the grid. We've got Lifebout on 28 points. It's quite close to the moment, but Lifebout is all the way down in P15, so he needs to improve. And then we've got Killer in P3, but he did also miss last race. So it's quite a tight championship battle, but obviously it's just the beginning of the season, so we'll have to give it another few weeks.
Yeah, this is it, and I mean it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be kind of in the wet. You know, again, I haven't seen any wet running in this division at all. Historically, I would have said the one to keep an eye out on is Rick. Rick is normally a lot quicker in the wet than he is in the dry. He had some very competitive moments in Division 1 on F1 22. So definitely one to keep an eye out from my perspective.
Yeah, and another driver I kind of seem to remember as a bit of a wet master is the man who's in P10 currently, Larkin. Obviously he's on the pad, so maybe the wet driving is a little bit easier, but he can be very quick on his day, and I think he showed that around China. I think he was probably fighting for the win before a bit of contact. I think it was with Alex the G, which set him down to the back of the grid, and he still managed to get points with a brilliant comeback, and that was without any safety cars.
Yeah, so lots of wet specialists. I think there's a couple of people that probably don't love the wet as much as others. Jacob might be one, actually. I'm sure he's a massive lover of the wet, but Larkin did want rain before this race. I noticed it in the D2 chat, so he will definitely be pleased. There's riding on board here with Petuka, middle of the pack, but a couple of temps really inserts you into the conversation. So all he needs to do is improve a tiny bit, and he's in business. As the Screamer's retired, he is out of the session. 27.672 will be the best he can do. And Petuka is slightly down, but obviously there's so many corners on this track. This is so many opportunities for him to potentially improve. As we look at Killer, who is just further up the road, who is invalidated. So that we won't see any more of Killer, unfortunately, I don't think. And that is not in any way ideal for him, because there's going to be a few that I suspect might improve significantly. Petuka, he's going to come through Sector 2, and he's 2 temps up, nearly, so he could really insert himself into the conversation. He could be around where Taupe is, I would assume, if he does an identical Sector 3, but see, that's lots of curb there. Is that going to in any way impact him? Is it going to help or hinder him? And it just about hindered him, I think. His Sector 3 wasn't as good as it could have been, and we're going to have a fast and furious dash now. So everyone coming over the line. We've got Darry, who is on his... Oh, there's a few cutting it really fine, actually. As he's just coming over the line to start his lap. Joom, obviously looking to improve. Oh, as I've just caught Killer going round, and he's right in the middle of the track. That's really, really, really distracting for a few of the guys. And that might be ideal. As Taupe is out, he's whacked it into the wall. As Adamako, yeah, this isn't going to be an improvement, I don't think. Oh no, it's 2 temps. Great lap from him. As Rick, wow, another improvement. And then we go to the second Haas drive, Lifebout, who inserts himself into P2. That is a phenomenal lap. And yeah, Killer is going to suffer as a result of that mistake, I think.
Yeah, I was on board with Killer and on his entire lap, and he just didn't seem to have any confidence in the car. As soon as he pressed the throttle, he'd gone spinning around. J. Cole is a 10th down currently in his time, so he's not going to be challenging for Paul here. So I think we'll try find somebody else. There's also Luke's invalidated his lap, so a lot of people struggling in their final laps here. We've got Joom coming up to the final chicane now, and he's 2 tenths down as well. I remember he lost about 2 tenths of the chicane last time. He's got a bit of dirty air from the Alpine up in front there. Drives up to the line, and does he improve? Yes, he does. He finds 4 tenths in the final chicane alone and goes into P1.
Wow.
That was surprising.
That's actually insane, to be fair, as we've got pretty much, I think Larkin isn't improving. And that, I believe, is that, because Petuka is on a very, very, very slow lap, as is Nova, as is Killer. So that will be the grid. Could have got away with it a little bit there. Could have certainly been slower. Could have certainly, been lower if one or two of the guys did improve. But yeah, like you said, it's a tough track to nail, isn't it? But that looks far more closer than we feared after about halfway through that session. I mean, you're looking at that. I think it's the top 16 all within a second, which is exactly what you need. And then it's only Miami, Wesker, RJ and Chill who are a little bit stranded at the back.
Yeah, we've got a back row lockout of two people I think that don't get along very well with RJ and Chill. You always see them having, say, unfriendly conversations to each other during the chart times, so we'll see if that maybe causes anything out on track. But I think it's been a strong qualifying there, as we've seen Hume get P1, Chris in then P2, and then Lifebout rounding out the top three.
Yeah, absolutely. Luke with the... It's a big gamble, this. This is either Nicaragua or Honduras. I'm going to go that is... Nicaragua. Oh, I think it's Honduras.
It's Honduras.
No, it's Honduras. Damn it. Ah, dear. Flag knowledge in the mud.
I remember I also thought it was the same one you said as well. When I first saw it, it was a bit weird seeing Luke run that flag, but I think it's better than Lifebout, who's not even running a flag. So
very true. He's a citizen of the world. But yeah, this is going to be such a start. Well, I mean, look at this. This is atrocious weather. This is more akin for swimming than racing. If this was real life F1, I'm almost certain this race wouldn't be going ahead because the wet tyres in real life are bloody useless.
But yeah, this week we also have the formation lap on, so we won't have to rush into the action like we have done the previous weeks. So hopefully we don't get any like silly disqualifications on the grid that just seem to happen on this game, but it's Codemasters, so I'd expect nothing less.
What was the pole time, Alex is asking? I think it was 26.6, wasn't it? Am I making that up?
I think it was a 0.7.
0.7. 0.7. So, Alex, I think he obviously really desperately wanted to race today, but unfortunately we had a full grid, so probably torturing himself a little bit, I assume, anyway, wanting to know if he would have cut it into his practice time. Yeah, here we go. It's looking almost certainly for wet, is it? No, it's Inters. Wow. It's a very wet track. I'm absolutely amazed.
It's very borderline, I'd have to say. So it looks awfully wet, but they just don't seem to be struggling. I know it's on the formation lap, but normally see cars maybe like having a bit of twitchiness on the rear end, but seems to all be smooth. So,
so
a bit confused.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we've got 9 constructors in the top 10, which is pretty something, to be fair. The only ones with 2 cars in it are the Alfa Romeos. ET8 Chris and Offside Nova, both in the top 5.
Yeah, and I think there's one driver I'm going to keep an eye out this race, and that's going to be Luke down in P8. Somehow, this is his best qualifying of the season, as the previous 2 rounds he's qualified P11, but he currently sits 4th in the standings. I think he's finished 4th and 5th in both the races so far, so seems to be a bit of a race merchant, you have to say. So we can maybe just see him climb up the grid a bit more, maybe even fight for the podium this week.
Well, it's better that way round than the other way round, says Crystal, wishing Liam luck. Liam is
P14.
Yes, sorry. P14. He'll have to do well, I tell you. It'll be a race that goes down in history if he does win, Crystal, from 14th. That is going to be some ask, but Doom taking it fairly quick round here. It's pretty easy to warm the tyres up on the Inters compared to the dries. Anyway, the dries, actually, you really struggle on the formation lap to get them fully up to temp. So he's flying it around. Any predictions? Who was your top 3? Who are you going for?
I think it's going to be Hume P1. I think he's going to keep the consistency he had last time out. I also think Killer will also recover to P2, and P3 I'm going to go a little bit rogue, and I'm going to say Luke down in P8.
Fair. I'm going to go Killer wins, Rick second, and Offside Nova third. I just can't ever. I love, I love backing. I'm always rooting for June, but it never normally works. So we're nearly here. The lights should be about to come on, and here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're off. June, how's the start? It's a little bit wobbly, but it looks actually like it might be marginally better than ET8 Chris's. But Chris seems to have got a hell of a lot of traction on the second phase, as I'm going to follow through the grid to see if there's any contact around the first corner. It looks fairly clean, and that is a pretty decent start by all the drivers, as June does maintain this lead, and has also kind of got a nice little bit of a buffer already to ET8 Chris. Chris getting followed by Lifebout, and yeah, this is the real horrible time. You hate being in these trains, you really do, especially when it comes up to the Degners. This is going to be really crucial. Someone doesn't break a front wing around Degner or the hairpin, I would be absolutely amazed.
Ooh, got a bit of a spinner down the back, but he's been saved by another car, surprisingly. I think we did a bit of commentators, because it was Liam just broke way too late, locked the rear end, but I think it was Patuka managed to hit his front end and steer him the right ways. Both Williams are going sideways into the hairpin there, as we've seen a bit of a pile up. Seen probably quite a few cars getting damaged there, but I think it was Darry, the initial Williams, that just went again too deep. Locked the race. We got a Mercedes flying off into the wall, but I think that was Liam again.
Yeah, really, 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 really messy start, as the Mercedes of Chill and Miami in his Alpine have a little bit of a contact moment. But yeah, Joom is kind of running up the road. In fact, the front three are. Got a little bit of a gap to Killer.
Yeah, that's the third week in a row we've had a clean Sector 1, and then we've just had an incident in Sectors 2 and 3, so...
Wow, Miami and Darry, they're just... last of the late breakers. They both outbroke themselves going into the Casio Triangle, but both did it exactly the same way, where they went too deep, so there was no contact made. Darry, definitely slippier in a straight line, goes up the inside of turn 1. There's a little bit of touch in, but they've kept it incredibly clean. This battle's going to continue through Sector 1. They're still side by side, and I'll tell you what, that is really good driving from the pair of them, as we have someone off, and that is Chill. And Chill is unfortunately round in the bog at the back, and Larkin obviously picked up that damage on lap 1, so he's had to make a very early pit stop, unfortunately for him. I wonder if anyone even dares to consider wets. I mean, it looks atrocious to me out here, but obviously no one's it's obviously the right tyre choice because everyone's on it, but
yeah, just nearly had the exact same thing that happened the previous lap. Patuka just goes way too deep into hairpin and just instantly locks the race. You need to up that front brake bias, especially in the wets. The rear tyres just go if not. But yeah, Patuka there kind of managed to hold it, which was very surprising, but he's lost a lot of time to the back head now, as he's now 2 seconds early behind Jerko.
Miami all over the back of Darry, and this is a fairly... I think this battle could just go on and on and on, because it's so hard to lose people around here.
Potentially think a switch for P2 going on here, as Chris seems to be just all over the place, going way too deep into Casino Triangle. Lifebout uses the RS, pulls the inside. It's just an easy move there for the Dutchman, I think.
Yeah, and
just have to double check that.
Chris, yeah, he looks like he's struggling all of a sudden. As Killer has caught the pack. Darry gets... Well, yeah, Darry's having a ding-dong as well, it seems like. And in fact, with Fashion Gold, he's managed to overtake and he's put in between Miami and himself. So, I said it's hard to lose people. It's a bit easier if you overtake someone in front of you.
Yeah, also June as well, just driving off into the distance, and he's just not even letting anyone else have a chance. We've seen Lifeboat there going sideways through Degner too, so the drivers are definitely struggling out there a fair bit, and we've seen also Killer fall a little bit further back, so it's very strange to see someone of Killer's standards just struggling this much.
Yeah, he caught the back of that group, and then I think he must have made another mistake. Because, again, the gaps have kind of expanded again. As Miami also gets past Fashion Gold, who's obviously not enjoying these conditions. And he will get back after catching up to Derry.
Yeah, and I also have a bit higher expectations for Fashion Gold here. I think it was a comfortable 1-2 for Ferrari before the fuel issues, but they both did weird strategies, and he went from P9 to P2 within 2 laps last week, but obviously the fuel then put him outside the points. He went into the pit lane and retired. What's gone on?
Wow, Topen the Scream, round 130R, and the Scream he went off basically round 130R, and they're continuing to ding dong as he's got a much better run. Although it looks like there's some ERS usage here, and he's just going to stick behind Tope for now. But that was, so I knew 130R would bring some moments with this kind of weather, and it hasn't let me down.
Yeah, and another driver who's doing, I'd say, not surprisingly well. I know he's a very quick driver, but the first 2 races he seems to have struggled a bit with incidents and spins. But it's Adamako up in P5 here. He's fallen a bit far behind from Killer, and he's got Nova all over the back of him, but he's holding his own down in P5, so he just needs to make sure not to make a mistake. It's out to Degner 2, as he's gone way too deep down. It allows Nova to pull alongside, but just not enough room then. Is Nova going to go for a movement? Oh, he backs off.
No, I think he's definitely holding up the group behind. Nova seems to have a hell of a lot of pace, and I think people like Rick and J. Cole will be getting frustrated as offside Nova loses it and loses a place to Luke, well held and well recovered. But that's just going to keep the frustration in this little mini pack, because Adamako is going to give himself a little bit of breathing room now with that. But those guys seem to have a little bit of a pace advantage over him at the moment.
Yeah, and Lifebout is absolutely flying in these conditions ever since he got past Chris. He's got within a second now of Hume and has 94% ERS compared to Hume's 54%.
Yeah, Larkin is not happy. Let's put something in the chat. I think there's it's a real nasty track to be following, particularly in the wet. So many sharp braking points on the first lap that don't normally exist. This Fashion Gold is in the pits and retires. So, I'm not entirely sure what that's about, but obviously he's had an incident, he's got some damage, and he's decided to call it a day. He is now Miami on the back of Tope, but nothing doing. They will hold form, you would assume, all the way through Sector 1.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused with Fashion Gold retiring on just lap 4 of the race. There's still another 23 laps, anything can happen, but obviously there might be something in the background which would make sense. With J. Cole there gets through on Ricard. I think Ricard has made a mistake out of Degner too, as he's now side by side with Patuka, who's going to throw it around the outside, goes very deep, and I think he's not locked the race this time, but just kind of outbroke himself and allows Rick to get ahead. But he's got a very good exit. Can he pull alongside as Chill gets a 3-second time penalty? Rick's giving him a bit of a squeeze there, but Patuka just doesn't have the straight line speed to get past Rick.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because if you look further up, I mean, Lifebout has actually caught up to the back of June, but those two are kind of really streaking away from Chris. Chris is in his own little kind of world, really, as he's kind of getting cut adrift from the front two, but he's also kind of gapping Killer. You do have to wonder, and I really do wonder, if someone can get past Adamako, who actually he's maintaining a gap now. Maybe one of that little pack there could potentially challenge, as J. Cole now, he's all over the back, but he chooses, and quite wisely chooses, to not go for the move here. I have to say, one thing that I've noticed from this game compared to the last is that the actual spray effects are so much better. It actually looks like spray rather than just, rubbish graphics. So, shout out to Cody's for that one. We give them a load of stick, and they normally deserve it, but yeah, it just looks a hell of a lot more visual.
Yeah, J. Cole here was on about Nova being absolutely rapid a couple laps ago, but look at J. Cole now, it's all over the back of him, and he's hit into the back of Nova then. That hit him quite hard there, so there could be some potential front wing damage, but he's going to try go around the outside here, but no, ever since that little moment, he seems to be struggling a bit as he's falling away from Luke, and Luke is also, in the process, falling away from Adamaka. So we've got a spinner in Sector 1, it's a safety car, I think it's Chill.
It is Chill.
Yeah, Chill's completely lost his front wing through Dunlop Curve, and it's very easy to do in the dry and let alone in the wet, so I think we'll have to let him off with that one, but it's probably picked up a warning dash through Degner once going too deep, but got a safety car which brings Larkin back into consideration as well now.
Yeah, and funny enough, it happened in D3, where the person that snapped their wing off benefited from the safety car massively, which was me. So, because I was cut adrift, smack into the wall, don't die somehow, and then a safety car comes out. So, yeah, not massive justice as Doom stays out, whereas I think the grid, I mean, Adam Mako stays out. Doom will be praying a lot of people choose to stay out. Because if not, that could be a hell of a costly mistake. And I don't think he's going to get his wish. I think only 4 or 5 are going to stay out by the looks of this. Probably 4.
Yes, fresh inters, especially around Japan from previous experience in Division 3 a few seasons ago, are just so much better than the old ones. Just the old ones lose grip so quickly, and even if it is just a 6-lap difference, it makes a massive impact here. So I think Doom and Adamaka and Patuka and Liam are all going to plummet through the field just within a matter of laps. And I think D1 also showed that, as we saw Matt TU4 just overtaking QVR Alp, who was P2 on the grid around in qualifying anyway. Just managed to overtake him because he had fresher intermediates, and I think they were only about 5 laps fresher, so I think it's a bit of a mistake there from you.
Potentially. I mean, it's interesting. Someone said that Liam was going to win in the chat from 14th. He is very probably temporarily 4th, but that's a massive win. He only just got out ahead of Lifebout, which I found gives you an idea of the difference in how far back he was. And a hell of a close call. He nearly actually ended up coming out behind him, which would have been massive for Lifebout. But yeah, this could cause a lot of chaos actually, because you're going to have Lifebout and Chris, who are quicker than Adamako, Patuka and Cross Liam in these conditions, and they've proven that over the last kind of 6 laps. But they're going to be so frustrated if they can't get past quickly. And it might open up opportunities for Killer and Luke and Rick and J. Cole to potentially sneak it past them if they have to have a braking incident, or for whatever reason are a bit slower to react when catching these guys and getting a bit caught up. So this has really thrown the cat amongst the pigeons. I would have liked to have seen 6 or 7 of them stay out, because that would have just made it even more exciting. But yeah, what can Doom do? I mean, Doom is going to gap Adamako, I would assume so, and he's going to gap Patuka and obviously Cross Liam. But it's a question of how much of a gap can he make before Lifebout and Chris get past the other 3, really.
I think he's got to get probably 5 or 6 seconds, because we saw how quickly Lifebout managed to close up, and that was on the same age Swift tyres. But Lifebout, every time I've seen him race, he does not like to wait about. He will go for the risky moves, so he might want to play a bit more patient, but maybe not too patient, if that makes sense. You've got to pick the right battles, because one tiny mistake here and Chris, Killer and potentially even Luke are all going to be flying through.
Yeah, you should have good traction out of, something like that. Somewhere like the hairpin down to Spoon could be a good place to think about it. And obviously the exit of the last chicane as well. You're going to probably get a lot more traction than the guys ahead of you. So what you don't want to be doing is doing a risky move through, around the last part of the first sector, or into one of the Degners, or in any part of the first sector. Realistically, you don't want to be going side by side with people. So it'd be interesting to see if he goes with that kind of pacifist approach, or if he does stick the knife between his teeth.
Yeah, I think there's been 2 people that have kind of lost out from the safety car. It's J. Cole and Nova. I think Rick has managed to jump them ahead just due to the fact they've got teammates up ahead compared to Rick, sorry.
That is a very, very good point, actually. So, massive loss for those guys, and yeah, just puts Rick further up. I mean, Lord knows what Liam's thinking. Sat there in fourth as the safety car will be in, and June now gains control of the race. You've got to go out of well, in my opinion, you go out of the exit of the chicane, but
yeah,
earlier today someone went pretty much on the line, so interested to see where he does go as we're following him through. Still easy, yes, power down, and he's off. Adamako, bit slow to react, but I tell you who isn't slow to react is Lifebout. He's already all over the back of Liam. Is he going to go for it? No. Oh, but he gets the door open and he does get past him, so that is massive, as does Chris. And now, that shows you already just how much of a difference this is going to make. Lifebout is already onto Patuka. Are these guys mates? Are they in a party together? I'm going with no, judging by how well he's defending. As, Cross Liam is just completely dropping like a stone here. And Patuka, nasty as Chris gets a penalty.
Chris.
Yeah, he's got knocked off. And yeah, Chris has unfortunately lost a hell of a lot here, as Killer will be the next up in line to try it. As also Lifebout going side by side with Adamako. Lifebout is absolutely flying. June isn't going to get far enough up the road, is he? He's going to get impacted as Jaco and Chris. Chris seems to be dropping.
Jaco.
Yeah,
Jaco
this is...
went flying, so while Jaco's in the wall there, he's lost his front wing, and somehow his tyres are still intact. We've got a virtual safety car, and I'm just not sure what happened there. Just they may make a bit of contact.
I mean, I saw the last inch of it, and it looked pretty bad, I'm not going to lie, from Chris, but you have to see on boards. That was wild, if I'm being honest. As June was absolutely...
Pity.
Wow, that's such a mistake. As is Adamako.
It's the Ferrari strategy. Back at it again.
That is such an error. As Lifebout now inherits the world, as Patuka doesn't pit. I mean, yeah, you can't be doing that. That's absolutely insane. I mean, Chill's had an absolute nightmare race. Probably one of the worst races possible, and he's going to be 7 seconds up the road from Chris and June. Longer. Absolutely phenomenal. Chris obviously has had a nightmare, isn't he? You know, and he's needed to. And he's obviously dropped through the field, so slightly different scenario, but I can't quite understand. Oh no!
Oh, you would just say it as well.
Well, they are going to get past him now, because Chill unfortunately has a drive-through. As Patuka is having to handle Killer here. They both brake very late. Chill taking that wide line for traction, but too wide, and he nearly compromises himself to Luke, which is kind of what we were talking about earlier. And this is, Chill needs to get past yesterday, and you can see by the way he's driving, Patuka is in no mood. He's in absolutely no mood, and then, look at that. Killer's been rammed wide. Cross Liam now going side by side with offside Nova. Oh, this is chaos. The Scream gets past Cross Liam, but does he get past him? Has he cleared him? Yes.
Luke there has just made a move around the outside and he's been tagged from the rear end. I'm not sure by which car they were going side by side, but Luke just flew the car around the outside of 130R, and Patuka kept his car in then, just millimetres away from contact, and that would have definitely been the end of Luke's race if they made contact. But I think they've got away with it. I think it might have been Patuka who maybe hit the rear end. He seems to have just lost a little bit of pace there compared to Killer, but Rickosh is going to be next to try and get through on Patuka now, as his tyres, you can just see, they just don't have the grip that theirs do.
No. I mean, I still can't believe June Pitt. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, if there's a safety car in any time from here to lap 20, he's going to be kicking himself because everyone's going to pit anyway. So, I mean, it was a bad decision to stay out, but it was a worse decision to stay out and then pit. I can't work that out. This Patuka isn't going anywhere, by the way, on Killer. He's actually sticking with it. There's kind of...
Killer's got damage.
Oh.
His front right end plate is missing. I think he might have gone into the back of Luke, then just lost his bit of his front wing.
And the Scream and Offside Nova. This is causing a massive train, effectively. I mean, Patuka is really still the one that's causing it, because Killer seems to be adjusting to that damage slightly and putting away from him. But if you look behind Patuka as he nearly loses it on the exit of Spoon, there's a massive train developing.
Yeah, also Lifeboat is absolutely flying these conditions. As what's going on back there?
Rick just goes side by side with Patuka. Patuka through 130R, and Patuka ends up having to bail out into the runoff area. Rick gets past a little bit naughty, probably from Rick potentially, you could argue, but it's very difficult without the onboards, as I always say. But offside Nova now, all over the back of Miami, who's all over the back of Patuka. He's going side by side. He goes round the outside on it. I mean, that is brave. You've got to trust the driver on the inside. I don't know if I'm necessarily trusting Patuka based on a couple of the things that happened in the race. And he's willing to scrap. He's willing to fight for every inch. So that was a bold or stupid from Miami, but it's paid off.
Yeah, both Scream and Miami have gained over 10 positions this race, and they have also a pit. So they're in the same lap tyres, so it's been absolutely phenomenal from them two to carve the way through the field and avoid the car injuries. Rick's had a bit of an issue on the exit of Degna 2, as Scream's going to try to throw it around the outside, but again goes way too deep, and it allows Miami to potentially get a run, but Miami just doesn't have the drive. Scream has out of the corner there. As we've seen a lot of switching of positions down the bottom of the end. You see Larkin, he's got through on Chris. We've got a lot of drama going on.
Yeah, so they're right behind Liam. RJ, and as he goes into the back of him, it's not ideal, and they're going to run it out of Spoon, and Wesker's right behind him. Who's got the quicker package? I would guess, judging by that, Liam, at this point, as Chill is around again. Chris and Larkin, side by side. Chris with the inside line, but that was soon... Oh no! That's such crazy contact. Larkin, there's 4 cars at the back here. June was one of them. Again, really messy. Chris is rage quitting for whatever reason there. I mean, nightmare race for him. Absolute nightmare. It was, I don't know exactly what happened, but Larkin, I think... Larkin went up the inside... Well, had the inside for the second part of the corner, and it just looked like they'd made contact. It was a bit of an awful view. I couldn't see tons of it, but yeah, that was messy from one of them at least. Maybe both, but it didn't look particularly neat.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dilemma here, I reckon, for Killer. Like, does he pit? Or does he stay out and try to just firm the damage? He seems to be doing a good job of holding on, but also I think he's benefiting from Rick making more mistakes than what we used to be honest, from him. It seems throughout the Degna as he keeps losing the rear end, it's allowing a lot of drama to happen. And also, whilst we're going on that battle there before all the carnage unfolded, Scream I think had a bit of a half spin on the exit of Spoon, which allowed Miami to get through. He ended up about 2 seconds behind us. We've gone underway, and Adam Acko has gone and got a drive through penalty. It's very difficult to get the VSC timings right, especially if you're like mid-corner, because they can just suddenly change, but it could be very unfortunate there, and he's been caught out. As Miami's all over the back of Rick now. Yeah. Rick's all over the back of Killer.
I think Rick just retaliating with battery use, and he is able just to pull that just far clear enough of Miami, but This corner's going to hurt Killer with any lack of downforce, and if Rick can get the power down, but actually he's lost time. He's very inefficient. Last corner there from him, as Miami also not with a last corner to write home about. But Patuka is still out there in that no stop, as is Liam. Adamako is going to pit, and I would assume he's going to strap on some new inters. Oh no!
Yeah, no.
I'm going to drive for it. I was thinking, where's the pit box? But yeah, Miami now.
Miami's got through on Rick and Killer.
Wow! Oh, I can't believe I missed that, but that is absolutely crazy. What a move. And I tell you what, yes, he has that pen, but if he has pace, he could pull away from Killer in excess of 3 seconds. And it just depends on if Killer's going to park the door. Oh my lord, that is an absolutely outrageous move. I would assume, well, I wouldn't assume anything, but oh wow, that's getting nasty. Killer's just absolutely nudged him out the way, and I mean, let's all calm it down a little bit, because that's not what you want to see. I mean, all's well that kind of ends well, because he's actually now retained the position, because that would have been a clear bump pass in my eyes, and the kind of thing that you see a lot in nonsense kind of F1 esports, and people just think it's a hard and fair race, and in real life it shatters your side pod and your car's overheating and you're retired, so you can't be passing people like that.
Yeah, I think a day late and a dollar short there from screen for way too late on the brakes, goes straight into the side pod of Killer there, but what it's done is bunch the pack up even more and allow Miami to pull an even further gap. To see Nova in the background going for a move up the inside of Rick there, throws up inside, a bit of a squeeze there from Rick, and Nova just keeps car facing the right way, but the gap was always closing there, but Rick could have maybe left a little bit more space there as this driving is starting to get a bit dirty, you have to say.
It's getting edgy, isn't it? They're all desperate as Rick and the Scream are going side by side. Oh. No, you've got to leave space. I'm sorry, I don't think that's Rick's fault in any way, shape or form. As offside Nova gets past the Scream, who I assume might even have a little bit of damage potentially. It's Patuka back up to 7th. Incredible race from him.
On them old tyres as well, the 14 lap on intermediates.
Oh, and that's Darry. Darry's round. He just made contact into the... Oh!
We've got a pile up.
Oh my lord, what has gone on here? Liam and Taupe.
This is reminiscent of the pre-season races, you have to say. The driving, the last few laps has been absolutely shocking. Seeing just silly contacts, cars flying into walls. It's gone out the window.
Yeah, this is not what you want to see. I mean, Chill somehow is he on the lead lap?
Lifeboats into the pit lane.
Wow. Okay. I mean, you'd assume they're all going to pit, right? I mean, maybe you don't if you're due. I still think you should, but I mean, Killer's obviously come in, and Killer's going to lose because he.
Wait, you don't even have a front wing. I've just gone on board with him, and his wing is completely missing.
Wow.
So I think he has to pit. I just don't know what's going on anymore.
No,
too much carnage going on.
I've lost track of this. How is Wesker second? I mean, incredible. And we're going to have this thing again. You know, you've got to assume. You know, Wesker and Darry are going to do what, you know, the guys previously, like Liam and Adamako did. Yeah. So, and Patuka does finally stop, and look at that. I mean, it just shows you. If June doesn't stop on that VSC, he's probably leading this race.
Yeah.
He may well be second or third, but we've seen all the chaos. He wouldn't have dropped behind Killer.
Did Miami get a 5-second penalty? Because I think he served it in the pit lane.
Wow, that's a massive game changer. He's probably one of the quickest drivers on track, I would argue. And if he doesn't have a penalty, he's going to be double dangerous.
Yeah, I think lifeboats in a different league compared to everyone. I was checking the race directors after the VSC restart, and every lap he was about 8 tenths quicker than Luke, who was also pulling quite a large gap from like Killer and them lot at the time. So life, I don't want to jinx it like I did last week, but it's lose.
Potentially. I mean, Wesker must be absolutely laughing. I mean, he's been nowhere, really, and same with Darry. I mean, Darry, yeah, I mean, this is an incredible opportunity for these guys, and again, J. Cole and Miami, and I feel really sorry for us over. I feel like he's been permanently behind someone who's on worse tyres, and like second or third in the queue with it, so not been a fun day for him. He's been incredibly patient, actually. And the people that haven't been patient are the guys at the back. Or they're out.
Yeah. Also, one person I'm going to keep a bit of an eye on this restart. It's also going to be Larkin. We didn't really see much of him today. I think he got damaged lap 1. He's just been trotting around towards the back, but now he's up into the points, paying positions. He's on some fresh. No, he's not. He's on slightly older intermediate tyres. So he might maybe lose out a bit, especially with like the likes of Hume and Rick in behind. But I think he's got a good chance there at scoring some good points, especially he's quite the patient driver compared to some of the drivers we've seen up ahead.
Yeah, 100%. I think he could definitely go through the field. And do you know what I'd be really interested to see? What's Patuka's pace? You know, because we've only seen it in context of him having to nurse older tyres against everyone around him. And I tell you what, he's not going to be easy to overtake because he wasn't easy to overtake in the first place. So now he's got, you know, parity or better tyres than those around him. See what happens.
Yeah, also, I've just been looking at position change throughout this race, and Miami started this race in P17, and he's now one of the quickest drivers on track on some fresh intermediates. And in my opinion, he's going to be one of the favourites to finish P3, but obviously, as we've seen, absolutely anything can happen. We've seen Hume dominating the race, and he's now down in P13. We've seen Rick comfortably in the top 6, and he's now down in P14 as well.
Yeah, I mean, here's one. You only get 3 sets of inters, don't you?
I think so, yeah.
So, if there is a world where Darry manages to completely and utterly keep J. Cole, Miami and the rest behind, and Wesker can kind of pull away, if there's another safety car on lap 21 or 22, it's probably very unlikely, but the only people that are going to have fresh tyres are Patuka, Darry and Wesker. So they could, I mean, that could be a massive factor, but very odd. Safety car is in this lap. Lifebout will take control of this race. It's a very, very, very short zone, this sector 3, isn't it? So very hard to actually make a gap to the safety car.
He's not really slowing down, is he?
No.
There we go.
And he's off. He's gone. Wesker's been caught short a little bit. Luke is already on the back, and it seems like Darry as well is having a bit of an issue. Side by side in the background, and that is Killer getting past RJ. And offside Nova past Miami as Darry gets 3 seconds. And J. Cole's past him. So now we look to Luke. Oh, there's 5 or 6 cars going through sector 1 near each other there. How there wasn't more contact, I have no idea. It's Killer and Patuka. Even. He gets past. Now Luke, what do you got? This is really important for your race. You need to get past Wesker as soon as you can.
Patuka's missing his wing, part of it, so we're not going to see him at his pace at all this race, it seems. And yeah, I think that's what just allowed Killer to pass here. I don't even know what happened to him. Maybe just a bit of a Constantina affected turn 1 that can be quite likely, but he's missing his front wing now, so he wants to be careful on the brakes. He goes very deep, he's tagged Killer, and then that is Larkin. As I was saying, how patient he was. He's gone too deep and has wiped out Killer.
No, nightmare. And I tell you what, I saw the start of his. Luke has got past Wesker. Luke with another double move got past J. Cole and Wesker in the hairpin. It was an incredible move. And he is now in prime position to take second place, you would feel, as Miami and J. Cole fighting here. They're going to go through 130R side by side. Wow. What a move by J. Cole. And he gets that done on Miami.
There's Nova. He's going to go round the outside of Wesker on the X16 and try and I've got the sound glitch, which is absolutely horrible. Can't hear the cars at all, but Nova there, an absolutely brilliant restart, has got himself, I think, from P7 up into P3 and comfortably ahead of Miami, who hasn't made any progress.
This is Joom and the Scream going side by side now. Joom on the outside, but that turns into the inside for the next corner and vice versa all the way through this sector. But he gets it done, but he's nearly gone into the back of RJ. Patuka is really holding this group up and he is probably enjoying it. Probably a bit of malice here with this damage. But he's making his own little safety car train. This is absolutely incredible.
Sorry to put in there, J. Cole's gone absolutely flying around the outside Dunlop curb and he's got the move done into Signal 1 there on Weston. Now Miami's looking eager to get through on the back of Wesker, but he doesn't have the traction, but as he's got the ERS advantage here, he's going to pull to the outside and he backs out, and is he going to go for a move up the inside? Gap's closing, that's a bit of a bump to pass, you have to say. Gets the move done, but I think that is a potential report there for Miami.
And I was just riding on board, Patuka, he is still ahead of Larkin. Larkin is trying everything. But Patuka's making the car about 5 times wider, as I'm also getting that sound glitch, which is blooming horrible.
Yep.
But Larkin will now go side by side with RJ, who he's managed to lose a place to. RJ himself is also catching Patuka. This could be carnage. This could be absolute carnage. Oh, Larkin sent it. Yeah, that was always going to happen, you feel, as June is now in the mix and life. Wow.
Ooh.
I mean, it shouldn't matter, but I'll tell you what, you'd be a lot more nervous if you were Lifebout, if you were seeing the action behind, because do not rule out another safety car, and then it really would matter as Darry and Wesker side by side, both the one stoppers, and Darry gets past him. This is chaos. Larkin is Larkin around again? This is chaos. Chill is somehow in 13th. And Killer... I mean, this is absolutely bonkers. I can't work this out. Chill is fighting with Killer. And he's come out on top. This is absolutely bizarre. This race continues to go from sublime to ridiculous.
Yeah, Killer's fighting back there, gets the move done there, just on taking on the outside. But yeah, Lifebout, I think he'd be a bit worried now, especially the safety cars. But one driver who's been phenomenal on this restart is also J. Cole. He's just managed to hold his position, even on the older tyres, kept Miami behind. But Miami's looking very eager to get through now.
Patuka is through on Wesker. This is absolutely incredible. And June is somehow in 8th. I mean, it's so hard to keep up here. And the Scream and RJ going side by side. Everyone's gone wide out of the second part of Spoon. Absolutely bizarre. And now June on the back of Patuka.
Go ahead there. Hume is one lucky boy there. He broke way too late for Spoon, then obviously with Patuka breaking, I was going absolutely flying into his rear end. Somehow he's not got damage, and somehow Patuka hasn't spun around. But Hume's been punted in the rear end there, but I think Wesker just going way too deep again. So people, it's also a factor in the Constantina effect, especially with the drive with damage heads. We got a yellow flag there, and that is Rick once again, who spun round and he's lost his front wing. Ooh. And he's got to drive around for another lap before being able to replace it.
That is so vile, and we've got
Virtual.
Wow. I mean, the gaps. I mean, I'm trying to think who's had a clean race.
Luke and Lifebout.
Yeah.
And Nova. That's just them three, I think, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think everyone else has had damage.
Absolutely bizarre, isn't it? It's just one of the messiest races. I mean, you did call it, but are we going to get another drive-through? That's the other question.
Probably, and I just also want to say, I think, I know Lifeout's not the most patient driver, but he was pretty patient as we saw earlier on, but the patient drivers have benefited. We've got J. Cole in P4, Nova P3, Luke P2's Rick has gone and got The drive-through.
Oh,
We got more
Patuka.
battles.
Patuka's ran wide, and that is Darry through on him. And he has now got June for company. But Patuka's straight line is absolutely insane. He gets overtaken, and then he's side by side going into Spoon. He could get it done. You know what? If he can keep within 3 or 4 attempts, genuinely, I think he could get it done on the run down to the chicane.
Yeah, and just one thing I want to point out, Darry is on 14 lap old intermediate tyres compared to everyone else's 5 laps, and he's holding his own. He's doing a great driver. He's just managing the damage. He's not doing anything daft. He's probably not the quickest of drivers we're seeing out on track at the moment, but it's just a bit all over the place this race. We've seen Doom leading at one point, we've seen Killer go from like P4 down to P16 up to P6 and then back down. I've lost count of what's happened.
It's just been bizarre. It's been utterly bizarre as a race. But Lifebout, I mean, the funny thing is Lifebout hasn't seen any of this nonsense. Absolutely none of it. As Doom finally gets ahead of Patuka, can he keep it? Yes, he can. Lifebout won't have seen any of this, so he's going to be really confused when he goes in the chat and everyone's probably kicking off with each other. He's just driven away.
Yeah, and also Miami finally got through on Jacob then, has already pulled a second half gap, and I think he passed him down to straight after Spoon, but I think Miami's just took too late to get past him there, as the gap's already 4.5 seconds to Nova up ahead.
Doom sends it on Darry, and that's him up into 6th. I mean, how he's managed 6th just tells you everything, doesn't it?
Yep.
So Darry's going to lose a bomber places, unfortunately, with that time penalty. As will Adamako, he will lose that final points playing position as it stands. But Lifebout, so far so good. It doesn't matter. He's got that penalty because he's streaking away from Luke.
Yeah, and also Killer's right on the back of RJ is just so much quicker, but RJ is also pressurising Patuka. He's going to try go to the outside, but he's not going to commit to the moves. He's also probably one of the most patient drivers in the grid, but I think he's just been stuck in all the carnage, to be honest. He's not been able to benefit from it.
No,
he's using his ERS here, but he's just falling back.
Yeah, Scream gets past Darry. Those tyres are starting to hurt now, you feel. Wesker pits. Is he going for the fastest lap? You would assume so. I think that is... Oh no, he's retired. It's currently with Lifebout, I think, actually.
Yeah, I think so. But I think one thing I want to point out is how Nova is catching Luke pretty quickly, to be fair. I think the gap was around 4 seconds. It's now down to 2.2. So it just keeps fluctuating a little bit there. But yeah, we've seen a lot of carnage this race, but also Ross again, RJ, sorry, right on the back of Patuka. Just within a tenth, he's got to try to do the moves throughout a corner and just hope he can pull away on the straights, because we've seen Patuka straight line speed, it's unreal.
Yeah, if he hasn't sussed that, which I don't think he has, because that was probably the best corner on the track to go for it, and I'll tell you what, Patuka's helped him out because he's ran really wide, but there's no chance this gets kept. Yeah, it's just too quick in a straight line. This is the problem, because you don't want to go diving on people, which is what RJ's kind of done there. I mean, I think that was absolutely fair. That was slightly different in my eyes, but Killer gets past, and Patuka, oh my lord, this looks very dangerous, and he's lost out to Adam, has he? Wow. Lost a lot of places. He might have a different opinion to me. And Larkin in this corner again. This time it gets nicely done, but Patuka's in. Patuka is in, and yeah, I mean, wow, absolutely wild. But Nova no longer catching on the back of Luke now.
I think you've also got to say, Chill is just one position away from getting points this race, and to be honest, that's why you don't give up. I've seen how many people retire in the pit lane this race, and Chill, who's had drive-through about 3 spins, like 3 front wing changes, is just a couple seconds away from points. It's just unreal.
Don't rule it out. I would say it's about as likely as it is unlikely. if you want my honest opinion, because you would think someone's going to do something, just judging by the other 24 laps and 23 laps in this race, as we have RJ on the back of Darry and Larkin. Oh, there you go. Adamako with the hit into the wall and with the track reset caught in 4K, but that is Chill up into 12th. And you would assume, unless you'd assume there could be all sorts there for the stewards, not for me. But even if Adamako gets past Chill, then I'm not sure he'll keep the point. But Killer up past RJ.
Yeah, it was getting awfully close throughout Spoon there. Killer was right on the back then. He obviously flies through 130 yards, trying to hang it around the outside of Darry Hinge. A little bit of contact, nothing too bad. Killer gets a 3-second time penalty, so RJ's just going to sit behind and watch this, I reckon, now with 2 drivers up ahead with time penalties.
Yeah, no value really for RJ at all to push this. He's not going to catch Scream, so I think the top 7 looks very set. This battle for 8th, however, will be raging on, and it really is technically between RJ and Larkin.
And potentially Killer, because we've seen him have strong pace at times throughout this race, so if he can get ahead of Darry, maybe he can pull the gap. We've seen RJ and Larkin a bit of a wiggle there from Killer, as Larkin's just managed to get straight through on Ross. RJ.
Yeah, it's very, very tight down there, and the problem is Larkin. The problem you have is you don't want to attack these two because you're going to beat them on pens, but you're worried if you don't attack them. If you're too passive, then RJ's going to get past you, which is kind of, I think, a little bit what happened there with Larkin and RJ in the first place. So yeah, still oddly, and I know it sounds a bit odd, but it still feels like there's a long way to go. There still feels there's another story in this race, I feel.
Yeah, and when you were saying the top 7's pretty much set, the amount of time, I think last week I said the top 3 was set about 3 times. I don't think one person I said when they're in their position actually finished in that position. It's just everything changed. I just want to keep an eye on fuel this week. I remember Montana told me how you can tell, but all seem to be fine as of right now, so hopefully we don't have the same issues as last week, as Hume I think has learnt from his mistake.
Yeah, the whole grid seems the fuel light is not on, so I think they're all fine. There's Larkin looking at the back of Killer. I wonder if he's been a little bit more hesitant since, I believe, I didn't catch it, but I think you did, where didn't he knock Killer off? So he might be being a little bit more selective.
Yeah, this is going to be the only battle out on track now. As Hume picks up a 3-second time penalty. It's not, as it stands, it's not going to affect him at all, but just in case he has a bit of a moment, allows Scream to close the gap a bit. But I think Ross is just, I keep saying RJ keeps struggling for pace right now. He's 2 seconds behind Larkin.
But yeah, it's funny enough, Chill is going to get some points. Unbelievable. How he's got a point from this race, absolutely wild. In a full grid, to be that far off pace and get a point is spectacular.
Especially with the amount of wing changes he's had this race.
Oh yeah.
I'm just so confused, but obviously the rest of the grid's just been even worse. Just Chill's kind of done his own thing. He's crashed on his own, but all others are crashing into others, so it's just opened up gaps and he's capitalised on them.
Miami is up 13 places. Absolutely incredible.
Also, Jacob's doing a great job on them much older tyres, you got to say. He's on 17 lap old tyres compared to 11 laps of human behind. I think he's going to hold on to that P5, but he's going to be lucky that June got a time penalty.
Killer's letting Larkin go.
Oh.
As Darry runs very wide in the first corner, and he goes to the back of that queue. So Larkin is now the head of the table here. And I'll tell you what, RJ, you need to be careful, sir. I'm wondering if that's actually a factor why Killer let Larkin through. because he's thinking, I'd rather follow someone faster than hold him up and potentially him be all over the back of me and lose me, good exits, because I can see RJ really struggling. So that might be very astute. I don't think it's going to pay off because it is obviously the last lap. We will ride on board with Lifeboat through Sector 3. Comfortable in the end.
I'll let you take it through, sorry.
Yeah, and Luke following in behind, but Lifeboat, dominant win. And he will be very confused as to why everyone hates each other in the chat. But he saw none of it. As Luke, another one, really sensible drive. Definitely my kind of vote for driver of the day. Great run by him. Nova, patient is the best way to describe that, and rewards himself with a podium. As Miami, biggest improver in 4th, J. Cole 5th. What could have been for June? Will he rue that at the end of the season? In 6th place. Scream in 7th, and he will come round, and Larkin somehow, another one who had an absolute tumultuous race, gets over there in 8th. Killer does actually beat RJ, who did pip Darry. So yes, a shrewd decision by Killer to let Larkin go, and Chilwell somehow ended the race in 12th as Patuka comes over the line.
It's just a very eventful race, you have to say. Saw a lot of clean battles at times, but also maybe some that were just a little bit on the edge, maybe sometimes just going over the edge. But the in-game fans vote Miami's driver of the day, and I can see why. But I think there's 3 main candidates for driver of the day, 3 or 4, and I think they're just the top 4, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the top 4, all of them probably deserve a shout. I would just... It's tough, isn't it? I mean, look, you have to say Lifeboat. I mean, the only one that I might say possibly would miss the boat would be Nova, because he come 3rd, whereas Miami come 4th from 17th. So that would probably be mine. But yeah, all of the front 4 pretty much could make an argument for it. But I am going to invite them into here to do a quick interview. What I would ask, if possible, because would be if I actually search for them and invite them in, if you could just start it without me, because I frankly need to go to the loo. So if I grab them now. Come on. My play together is not working particularly well. Where are we? So we have Luke. Where is Lifeboat is the question. Lifebout and Offside Nova. I should be able to find. I can't find Offside Nova. So for whatever reason, I'll add these 2 in first, and then I will mute myself. If you want to crack on with it, I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Yep. So I'll quickly just try work out in my head what the championship standings will look like after today's race. So I'll quickly open up the standings as we've got our P2 finishers join the lobby, but Lifeboat I don't think will be joining. So I'll just get it started now. So Luke, our P2 finisher
Hi.
today. So a bit of an eventful race happened in behind, but I think you managed to somehow avoid it all. What was your mindset throughout that race? Because you kind of just drove away from the pack and watched the carnage unfold behind you.
I don't know. I didn't really have a mindset. Just like drove. Peace was singing songs in the background. That helped. Yeah. Ever since Killer got wing damage, there wasn't really much to do. I was just on my own the whole race.
Yeah, so it was a bit boring. So was Pisa singing that just the main thing keeping you going throughout the race?
Yeah, that's like it gives you like a second a lap, I think. I mean, it's not enough to catch thingy lifeboat, but don't really care.
Yeah. I was going to say, I just want to know what were you thinking when he was just constantly pulling away from the gaps. I remember I kept checking the race director, and I think it was around 7 or 8 tenths a lap just before like one of the first VSCs.
I was like, it was so weird. He kept like losing like a second randomly at the chicane. I went under like 130R. It's so weird. And then he just like dropped me again through the S's.
So I mean, this is kind
sorry. Also,
well,
if you're here,
I'm just.
You know, on that final VSC, he's not going to answer me, is he?
Oh, hi. Hello.
Anyway, he gained like a second on me on the final VSC when I was 2 tenths over, and I don't know how.
I think it was just on the exit. You got a bad VSC timing, like I did with the first or second one. I don't remember.
It didn't feel bad, but
on the second one, I literally lost like 1.5 seconds to you on the exit spoon.
Oh well.
So I'll keep trying to delay with you, Luke, here, because Mark has just quickly gone to the loo as he's now back.
I'm back.
Okay.
Sorry about that. That was a mad race, wasn't it?
I was entertained. I want to watch the stream back. It looked entertaining behind.
I think you and Lifeboat are going to be very confused.
Yeah.
Everyone else is probably just angry. Talk me through your race, if you may.
Who?
Oh, Luke, first and foremost, if we could start with Luke.
I don't know. I didn't really do much. Like, I picked up 2 warnings early on, so I just had to relax for like the second half of the race. So there was nothing going on. I was just chilling on vibes.
and Lifeboat, if I may ask, was that a quiet race for you? Did you see any of the craziness?
No, only maybe the first safety car restart, but then after that, yeah, I was just in cleaner the whole race, basically.
Are you surprised that June pit when he did, and he didn't pit initially, because that was a very Ferrari strategy by the Ferrari man, wasn't it?
I don't know why I didn't box, but yeah, cause the inters like they were so high.
Mm.
Yeah, it was just logical to box. I don't know why I didn't, but yeah.
Yeah, no fair. And look, is that a particularly good track for you, or is that is it a good track, and do you enjoy the wet conditions normally?
Yeah, Japan is a good track for me. I mean, I didn't qualify good, but yeah, I didn't know I would be this fast in the wet, but we take it, I guess.
Do you think this is the start of an early championship challenge?
Yeah.
Good.
Of course.
Good man.
I hope I don't lose again by 3 points.
So, no, well done. Mr. Chicken, any questions for Lifeboat?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, what was your plan? I think it was on the first SC restart. You were behind a few of the cars and all the tyres. Were you just planning to go aggressive, or were you going to try to be a bit more conservative?
Yeah, I wasn't trying to be aggressive, but they were so slow. Like, I didn't mean to make moves, but I was basically forced into making moves because they were so slow. New inters are just so good.
Yeah, well, you made it work as well. I think you gained about, was it 3 positions by the end of Sector 1? They were just so much faster, and just faster than everyone else on the grid, to be honest.
Yeah, basically, I think Jum was basically the second fastest, and then Chris also behind me, but I think my teammate killed him. So, yeah. Yeah. If Jum boxed at the first safety car, it might have been slightly entertaining, but he didn't.
No fair. And I mean, if I go over to you, Luke.
Yes.
What's your hopes for this season? Are you thinking that you could cause some damage at the front? We've got kind of a points target. What do you want from it?
I don't know. We're just drive and hope. There's no target.
No, don't blame you. And if I'm being honest, I think the main thing is, finish. Hopefully, I think everyone's goal should be that we finish the season with full grids, because It might be over after about 5 races if we have another another couple in round 4 and 5. But Portugal tends to be a
About
little
8
bit
drivers
easier.
in D3.
Yeah, and that's never good. But yeah, it's a difficult time of year, I think, for that kind of stuff. But with summer holidays and all that kind of jazz. But yeah, cool. Did we manage to get? I take we haven't actually got Oside Nova in.
No, I couldn't find him. Had a quick look, but it's unfortunate.
So yeah, Chicken. Any questions for Luke?
Yeah, so just it's been a bit of your issue this season, I have to say. So your qualifying, is it you just struggling to get pace in qualifying, or do you just keep bottling it?
Well, I mean, I knew I was never going to be quick in quali here. And China as well, to be fair. And Australia, I just bottled it. I would have been front row, but then I got invalid. So it's only Australia I really messed up. I knew the next two wouldn't be too bad. But Portimao, I'm winning. Easy.
He's trying the Wesker strategy, the top 5 finish.
Exactly.
Still learning.
Oh, cool. Well, look, cool. I think if we wrap this up, it's been a pleasure. Thank you both. Well done, both. Definitely in the driver of the day conversations, as well as Miami. We come fourth, improving by 13 places. So, well done, and yeah, absolutely stellar driving. So, again, Funky Chicken. Anything from you to close us out? I brought us in. You close us out, sir.
Oh, I'll just say thanks for watching, I guess, and hopefully we can see a bit cleaner racing next weekend. Hopefully a lot less bump passes as we saw today.
Yeah, what he said.
Cool. Thank you all, and